I wrote something for you guys. Well, let's see what you think. I stand by the devil's side, not for merit, but for the purpose of seeking their truth along with my own. The devil allows and encourages me to face myself and stand in front of my children with honor, strength in my own compass of nobility. For only a coward would stand behind their child and shield themselves with self-righteousness in order to deflect accountability as their child is suffered by silence. Boom, mic drop. No, I'm just kidding. I just was feeling kind of poetic because I try to figure out my relationship with the Devil Collective. I navigate these things because I wonder why I've always gravitated toward darkness. And people say that darkness is weak, but it's not. And I don't understand that because some of us, and it's not to sit and lick our own wounds, because I've thought, hey, with my connection with Belial and him being the scapegoat archetype, am I just licking my own wounds and trying to, and I think a lot of people at first might in certain areas of struggle in their life. I think that's healthy when you are screaming in a soundproof room, right? But there's this grace about them. Like, God historically hasn't gone through shit. So God just sits on his pedestal and starts screaming orders like a boomer, right? And starts do as I say, not as I do. And in antiquity, we didn't really seem to understand the psychology. I'm going to go psychobabble as a non-psychologist. I just like studying myself. So please, I'm a pseudo-intellect. There's a lot more intelligent people than me. But the devil, when he appears, I say the devil in collective of infernals, like high-ranking infernals. I'm not saying that's accurate. I'm saying they represent to me different aspects of what people blame the devil for, for their vices, for terrible things that happen in life. But when they appear, you know that they've been through the fire because they embrace the fire. They are the fire. And God would take credit for that. I started thinking about that. A lot of us who have just been pushed down in life by people who might not have had the same resilience, or they chose not to, or a combination of both, right? And then they start seeing you level up. They go, see, aren't you glad? I've had that happen to me. Aren't you glad I wasn't fucking hugging you too much? And because I turned out all right. I really did turn out all right. It wasn't easy. And it wasn't alone. It wasn't on my own accord. I had, different friends in my life that kept me grounded because I was going to burn out. But a lot of times boomers will be like taking credit. See, I'm fucking, yeah, see, you just toughened up. Now you're like me. And it's not the case, that's the Yaweh complex. But infernals, especially if we're going toward quote-unquote biblical aspects, fallen angel aspects, which I've been really just into for the past year. Not like into, but just like it's always kind of like taken me down that route, and it's just where I am. But they've been through that. They've dealt with rejection. They've petitioned for forgiveness. They've had to go through that. And I asked Belial in meditation not too long ago, did you, in your ways, when this was happening, as an angel, do you hit rock bottom with freedom? Because the consequences of this freedom. He said yes. Hey, absolutely, every single last one of them. What would you do? And it's really interesting because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as human beings, right? But sometimes not too much. But then with God, he can do no wrong. I'm not saying you and I, those of us who are in the left-hand path and this mentality in general, even those of us on this path, I don't have I know that God rejects me because he always has, and I've always felt it, so I did something, right? And I'm cool with it. But we give him a bypass. And I'll get into this in a minute with angels, because I had so many questions, not like loaded. But then angels, like the fallen angels, they're just the scapegoats. They do everything wrong. And I'm not trying to be hyper focused on the scapegoat aspect. I've healed so much. I'm just trying to figure this out. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, it makes sense. So I can only relate to the things that I'm a quote unquote student of, or expert of. But I wonder sometimes, since, a lot of us are in the process of evolvement, and they evolve. Does God evolve? Do the archangels help him evolve? Why are they by his side? Because they're intelligent and they would see the flaws. But then you see the perspective of loyalty. You see the perspective of there's a discipline and compliance. You know what I mean? But it's like different than obedience. And the aspect of Satan told me that. It was weird. I had this experience with Satan not too long ago out of nowhere. And his energy is very hollow, but not like in a shallow way. It's just like an egregore sort of way. And I'm trying to figure all this out. So if I'm spewing misinformation, please. It's almost like, how Daredevil has to like tap into his senses because he's blind. I'm like that, but just like fucking ignorant because I'm trying to learn so much at once. My brain doesn't stop. So it's really, really annoying because I've got like everything I do. It's like gotta be like just all in, whether I love it or not, unless it's something stupid. But anyways, I'm wondering, Satan told me about the difference between compliance and obedience, even though you think they're like synonyms of each other. It shows not in this sense of Satan, but in general, I've gotten like an unspoken respect for both sides of this quote unquote war, for lack of a better term. Because it's like a spiritual war. There's so many metaphors into that. But when the devil has appeared to me in the time of need, it was never out of manipulation. It was never out of, he could have done that a long time ago. I've been, drawn to demonology for a very long time. It's followed me my entire life. I've explained this in the past. And it's not to glamorize. It's just, it was a very weird draw. And now that I'm in, you have to balance that. It can overtake you. It does to people. Man, that's not to sound taboo. It's just we have free will, and we have that as a consequence, to their actions, right? If we're going down that route. However, they don't sit and like boast about it. They don't go, see, like I have tapped into different aspects with Belial. With that there's a guilt in that early aspect. There's a fucking heavy, unfair weight that I don't know how age works in that world. I think it's just maybe a vulnerability due to lack of experience quite yet. They were expecting there to be consequences, but they weren't expecting it to be so fucking horrific. And because it's horrific and there's nothing you can do about it, we can be destroyed or we can repair. And that is the process I've learned. But I've been in the church spectrum, like I said, just to keep me out of trouble. It had nothing to do with like we just get keep her out of trouble. She's getting into fights. She's always popping back to teachers. We need to fucking just take her to this. Maybe they'll help her. That's what happened. There was nothing terrible. I went into that fundamentalist Baptist country school as a worldly child, and it came out even worldlier. But I learned that everybody just gave all of their credit to God. No matter if they were like fundamentalist, indoctrinating their kids really young, like that's a whole different darkness of Christianity. And like I said, the only reason I was at that school is because the secular private schools were way too expensive, and they just didn't care. They wanted the money, and they did try to like indoctrinate me and go to your family's house and be pushy, even though they were, pedophiles. They still would give all of their, they think that too, I can go do these horrific, the worst things you can do to a human being, to the type of human being. I'm sorry if I'm wheezy. I got bong lung because I ran out of edibles and I can't. It's raining. The pressure changed, so if you hear me sounding like that fucking penguin off of Toy Story, it's like, I feel a song coming on. I swear, I feel embarrassed about it. I don't smoke as much as I used to. I'm trying to just do things a bit different. And I feel self conscious because it's picking up all this. So, anyways, back on topic. Fuck, at that church, right, at the fundamentalist school, everything that they would do, oh, it's okay, God will take it. You just got to ask God for forgiveness, and He does. And I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty easy. I can just do whatever the fuck I want and say I'm so sorry, like, and that's it. And then on the flip side, right, I think if I reiterate, I'm sorry, I have like 5 episodes that are never going to be surfaced, so I might reiterate myself. But when I went to a public school later on, I had got out of that fundamentalist Baptist system for 3 years. I was fine. Like I said, nobody in my family was religious. I went to a public school, and the security guard there, she saw me all dressed like in Marilyn Manson clothes, my shirt and my band shirt and everything. And then she came up to me and she was like, I knew she was recently saved. I knew this shit off the back of my hand. And she was trying to save me. And anyways, we became friends. She was like a lost soul, did a lot of things that she wasn't proud of, and she found God, right? They were in a non-denominational church, and it was cool. All the people were cool. The pastor there was an ex-shot caller for gangs, because I come from gang territory, so it's people get just siphoned into that at tiny baby ages, so it's sad. I know it's too much. It's not good when you know people as kids and they're like little babies, and then at age 10 or 11, 12, they're in jail. They're locked up for doing. It's not okay. It's crazy. So when I see that shit, I'm happy. I'm happy when people get out because they get trapped into it. They're not bad people. They're not. And and working with, they turn into bad people. We all can. We all have the capacity, but when you look past that without bypassing accountability for those individuals, because if you fuck me up, I'm going to fuck you up. Like that literally is my thing. Like I'm not trying to throw threats or anything. I don't throw threats. I have peace in my life and I'm cool, but either you're going to jail or I am. Like that's it. Like that's how it's going to be. I will not sit on my knees and cry and beg. I will not do it. I will diffuse. If you're ever in a high risk situation, just deflect the situation and give people your money. My old self would have fought to the death. I cannot even explain how stupid I used to be. Just give the fucking burglar your money and save your graces. And if somebody's threatening you, then you come in. But in that sort of sense, I know the system very well. And when I see a pastor that was an ex-shot caller for a gang, and he got out of prison, and he was struggling with heroin addiction, and he got clean, and he was like so grateful, right? You can see that there was a genuine Jesus energy to him. I really respected that man. He didn't care who you were. He loved you. That is, in my opinion, Christ-like. Like the philosophy of Christ as a person, if we're going to say that. Because they probably just fucked all of it up. Who knows? If Jesus was real, which I do believe that he was, I believe that he was not what they say. I believe that he was better. Not that he really appeared pretty reasonable, in all honesty, in the Bible, unless I'm missing something. But that they just misconstrued it so much, and he's probably just rolling his eyes. He's probably grounded as fuck and fair, and they were probably, Yaweh energy, and he probably came in and told him chill. He probably said he was, that maybe he was the son of God. He had that connection because he understood how toxic God was. And people understand how toxic, their fathers can be, right? And then they come in and they're wiser from it. They're clear-headed. They're aligned with themselves. And that doesn't happen as often as it should with Christianity in my experiences and with people and observations. So when I see this pastor, I know I ping pong, I'm trying to get good at this, guys. this pastor, the whole time, giving all of the credit to God. And I remember I used to go to that church because I ended up playing guitar for the church because they had like a Christian metal band, and I was like, I like POD, I'll fucking play all day. And it was cool. I went there for like a year, and it was cool. Like just a lot of just normal kids. And but I used to get kind of sad because he was like, just give all this credit. I can think, man, you were running a gang, and then you get locked up and you ruined your life and all these other things, and it probably wasn't your fault to begin with. He's probably like 10 when he got into this life, and he made so much progress, became a leader in his community, became clean, became open-hearted, helped people with addictions, helped people that were struggling on the streets. Like literally, this dude was great. He's what Jesus would be. Jesus would be vibing with this gentleman, but all he did was, it was all God, it was all God, it was all God. And it's like, no, fool, it was you. It was all you. You did that. God might have guided you. You know what I mean? I can respect that sort of stuff. I used to be a very loaded non-Christian. And then I sorry, it's so much louder on camera than it is, so I'm just like, tiptoe to the window, and it's like every little bump I make is just like boom. So I have to edit these first few episodes because it's rough, man. So I can put my hand on my lap and it just sounds like somebody's slapping me. But anyways, I used to get really frustrated. I used to get really sad because this gentleman was really inspiring. He inspired me as a kid. I was like, man, this dude he went through all that, and he's such a good person, you know. But not once did he give himself credit, and I understand there's a sense of humility in that. I understand that. That's important to an extent. But it's also important to love yourself enough to give yourself some credibility, not for your ego, but for personal. Like, you don't have to say, I didn't do anything, it's all God. Like, all the things that I did, the demons don't ask for credit for. They're always happy when I do good and I level up, because I work really hard at this. I work so hard they told me to stop. Like the devil told me to fucking take a break. I'm not even kidding, because I probably have some trauma with that too. Long story short, broken punk ass kid, one parent, widowed, gets remarried to fucking Captain Crazy that's always going to war and coming home and bringing the war with him for 10 years. I've got like this military thing, right? So I got CPTSD from it, and I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but I feel the need to like go all in. And they taught me to draw back. And then and Lilith, I worked with her with this. She questioned, why do you do so much like that? Like whether it's for yourself or for anybody else, like I will give it 4,000%, and not to, on my life, not to compete with other people. I don't give two fucks if I'm never getting second place. My second place is how stupid I was acting earlier. I don't care about other people. If somebody's like first place all the time, I'm like, man, that's cool. I really don't know why that was preserved in me. I never had that, because I've always had, undefeated this or whatever shit. Like I always get pushed into the leader role, so I like seeing other people in it, and I like to draw back and like be the co-captain sometimes. It's probably just like a feminine thing too, but I go all in. Like I say, I call myself Water Boy because you know how he's all crazy. And that's how I am when I apply myself, and they had me question that, because I never like, oh yeah, I do. Some people do that. They get an A+ on their test and they're all fucking walking around with their dick in the air. It's like, just calm down, pipe down. All that means is you're obedient, okay? Jeez. But there's just this inner like conflict with myself where I have to be the best for myself. I have to get good at things, and it never filled anything. And I'm not like the greatest chef or the greatest guitarist. I can hang, I study, and I practice, and I'm diligent, but I'm not doing it for those reasons. I'm just, my daughter says it's because my sun and rising signs are both Aquarius, and I've got Aquarius like in half of my chart. I just really don't give a fuck about that stuff. I don't know why. I just can't connect, and it doesn't do anything for me. but I like to apply myself with these aspects of infinite knowledge, and it gets to the point of, it sounds so cringy, but it's like an escape. You know, they made me realize I was escaping myself and trying to fix myself and heal myself with, well, if I do this, if I do this, if I become this, then it'll be good. Like, I'll be good enough, you know, and it's never, you never feel good enough. It doesn't matter. So I just have a clean slate with that, and I've learned to draw back. They've never taken any credit. They've never wanted me to give them credit. They've just wanted me to be honest about my experiences in communicating with them. And if anything, it seems like they like when people share, and it's not even like, of course they're going to receive something from that, but it's really like this love feeling, this mentorship that's genuine. And whether or not that was a glamour spell, like Christians will say, oh, they're just casting a spell on you, and you think the devil likes you and he's enticing, it's a lot fucking better than this. I have a wonderful support system. My husband and my kids are they're awesome. We all literally get along so well. It's cool. It's not perfect, but it's cool. And I don't care. Like, nothing else bothers me. I realize this world, I have a purpose here for myself, a silent purpose. It doesn't need to be this big charade like everybody thinks it does. I've always felt like I had something that I needed to be in the public eye, but I just didn't like it. But maybe it's just sharing my experiences and just sharing my art, and they helped me realize that, because I've ran away from this sort of stuff, because I've always just felt like I wasn't good enough. And I grew that. I might not have planted those seeds, but I grew that garden. And they teach you why you do things. They teach you how your life would be different if you did things differently. But then they ask you, what decision do you want to make? And we're going to go from there. And if it's certain things you agree to for lessons that you want to learn, they're going to keep giving them to you over and over and over and over again. And my husband taps into some of these energies, and I'm going to be silent, even though he told me, he's such an open book, it's crazy. Like, he would just stand in front of Betty naked and be okay with it. And I'm cool with people like that. I'm just like, not my acid trip down here. I'll keep covered. But I am, I love him. He's so open, but not in an annoying way. He's just like, he's an Aquarius too, though, and his rising and sun are Aquarius. So that's interesting as heck to me. But anyways, he's going through something where shit keeps happening, and he's not understanding why is everything screwing up and everything's breaking. And I'm like, because you're expanding. And I've gone through this, and I say it in a way, you know, like with me, he's in really good shape, and he's never had any struggles with weight or body dysmorphia. It must be nice. He's had some self-esteem issues with body dysmorphia, but in terms of like his physique, he's one of those people. He's very active. He doesn't have to try. He can eat whatever he wants, and he's got muscles everywhere. It's so stupid. It's not okay. It's really sickening to me. I can eat 3 pumpkin seeds, and I just boom, and he can eat like 3 pumpkin pies and be like, oh man, I can go for a 4th one, and he's 40, and it's just gross, and I don't like it. So anyways, I tell him, just like he never had to deal with body issues like me, I'm going through this process, you know, right, with weight loss and stuff, and it's been really interesting. I've gone through the spiritual awakening stuff in this sense. Doesn't mean that I'm ahead of the game or better. So I try to not, hold on. I try not to come across, you know, to my family as a guru. It's kind of crazy, because those that are very spiritual in my environment, they'll come and ask me questions, but I always make it clear, these are my experiences, my opinions. Yours are going to be yours, and that's totally cool. You have to figure your stuff out. Because my older kids had asked me, how come they knew that I was into magic when they were younger, but I didn't, you know, express it like I do now. They know I had crystals and herbs and books and things, but it wasn't in my everyday as abundant as it is now. I did do spells. I had money bowls. I did cleanse all the time. I did all these things. But I wasn't in an environment where everybody else at that point in my life was involved. So it's an odd feeling. It's a quiet, silent practice. I know a lot of people know exactly what I mean. Like, you got maybe your room, and that's fine. No one's discriminating against you. I hope in your case no one's doing that, because that really makes me upset. It really, really does. But, there's a sanctity to only having that small space for your practice. I hope people understand that. There's a gorgeous energy of having your whole home fortified with magic and people in it who get it, and not, oh God, I sound cult-like, not like that. They're just free with themselves, but we all work on ourselves, and it just feels balanced. Our life is crazy and hectic, but I don't know, it's not toxic. Sometimes I just bitch and complain. That's me. I'm the problem in the house. I'm the one that just has to bitch and complain about cleaning, and I've been not doing that as much, and I catch myself because I'm like, man, I'm just putting that energy out there, because I got to that point in life where I'm like, man, I've been doing this shit for 20 years. I'm kind of getting over it. My kids and husband help. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm paranoid because TikTok thinks that everybody is a misogynist these days, and it's not the case at all. We are all just really busy, and there's just that much to do with an urban homestead. That's it. But outside of that, back on track, I think it's important that you take credibility for yourself. I think it's important that you take credit for the work you put in, and then you just give this just gratitude and honor toward the deities that have helped you. And that's how I feel working with infernals. It's not the darkness, and the scary, eerie part isn't they're gonna go and hurt your family. Gosh, my family's super protected. It's crazy. I'll get into this in a minute. My ping pong brain. God wants you to give all of that to him. He puts you at war with yourself because he's a war god. And then he breaks you down and steps on the back of your neck, and then he's like, I'll sell you I gave you the problem, and I'll sell you the cure. He's like Big Pharma, allegedly. But seriously. But when the devil showed up, when Lucifer and Lilith showed up, because I worked with Lilith first, but Lucifer really, Lilith, it was a different connection. It was more of needing protection because I was really vulnerable. I just got out of psychosis, and a year ago, I go to the doctor every year for checkups. I do not have psychosis. Okay, that is extremely important. I have a very good doctor. I'm so lucky to be in Australia and have free freaking healthcare. I had to adjust to it. Anyways, Lucifer saw me on my face. Like, he saw me. I was at that point in life. I fell on my face, and my body was just broken. And I was just really, it's too much to deal with. So much death, so much hate, so much self-hate, trying to just escape. It was a lot. I fell on my face on the ground, and when he told me to look down and open my eyes, the ground was a mirror. You know what I mean? And you can't worry about everybody else. He will cut you to your core and say, you've got all of this pain. It might not have been your problem, but it is now. And that's just how it is. And you've been sold this lie, this God complex lie, that these oligarchs, they emulate the same concept. It's their marketing scheme. God's mentality is the fucking marketing blueprint for the people that are in control of this world. I will cause the problem, and I will sell you the solution. And all you got to do for it is work your ass off for the rest of your life for me, and you'll get it. And then when you don't, well, you should have done it differently. And the devil is like, yep, that's how it works. It's all fucked and it's rigged. So you can lay there. They're not going to come and rescue you and apologize. They're not going to forgive you for the shit you did either. They're not, it's not your problem if they work on themselves. They're not, some of them aren't. So what are you going to do with all these pieces? Are you going to lay there forever and just bleed out? Or are you going to get the fuck up? Because if you want to get up, I can help you. But in order to do that, I really need you to help yourself. Because if I do it for you, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. That is the whole philosophy of, in my experience, the left-hand path. Like for me. And I don't classify myself as a Satanist. Not for any other explanation. I don't have a classification. I understand a lot of the structure that we've been given of the universe and things we've been lied to. I don't know. I don't have many answers. I understand the skeletal structure of this, of all of it, from as above, so below, within, the tree of life and the cliff-offic path, which is weird because as I kind of navigate it casually, the cliff off, I've realized I've been kind of going through those motions without a manual, which is, that stands out. That kind of, I'm not saying, I just fucking don't, I hate reading. I read so much that I hate it, and I'm like, okay, I got to get around to this, and I'm unorganized in my mind. That's it. That's I'm just getting around to shit. But I do pull things out that I know are important to hyper-focus on, and I do get guidance, and I am compliant with that sort of stuff because I am crying for knowledge. Because I don't care. I have been so depressed. I guess I sound so fucking cringy. Like, oh my gosh, I'm such an artist. And it's so fucking smart that the world is just, ugh. But no, seriously, I feel like all of this stuff is so nonsensical and just kind of boring. Like, there's, fun and euphoria and dopamine and colors and sparkles and glitter. Like, totally. But you just kind of think, like PJ Harvey, is that all there is? If you know who PJ Harvey is in that song, my 17-year-old oddball ass heard that song super stoned, watched the video with one of my friends, and I swear it just made me feel so validated. So PJ Harvey, is that all there is? The music video, she's just like, there's like a party in like a high school basketball court, I think, indoor gym, and it's just like the party's over, and she's just like, okay, I saw the entire world, and it was like, wow. It came from like this, not an ungrateful, spoiled, rotten, like, demeanor. Excuse me, I have to cough because I'm like super wheezy because it's stupid weed. I just don't want to mess up because I don't want to edit too much. And the first 10 episodes I'm probably going to edit. But anyways, that's how I felt in the 90s. Growing up as a teenager in the 90s who had a full-time job. I had money. I hustled, man. And I blew it. Like, oh man, I would blow my entire paycheck. I worked from like age 12, alright? Because I worked at Subway from 14 to 17 years old, and I had keys to that motherfucker. Like, I worked as much as I legally could. So in summertime, I super had money. But before that, I used to work as the little maintenance girl in the apartment complex. I did that from like age 12 to 15 as well on the side. Sorry, my phone's going down. Alright, so, I worked really, really hard. I was a little maintenance girl, and then I would babysit for some of the neighbors in my apartments that I lived in. And I made cash, man. Like, I had thousands of dollars when I was like 15, and I would blow $2,000. I would save money from babysitting, from working full time. I hustled, but then I would go buy shoes and CDs and band merch and bullshit. Oh my gosh, I would eat takeaway every day and coffee, and I would treat my loved ones too. I was always really generous, and I was raised with generosity. I had a very generous upbringing with that sort of stuff. So when you're friends with me, I spoil you rotten. I cook for you. Nowadays I'm so jaded. I'm just like, fuck everybody but my family. But seriously, like, I cook for you. I throw down. I will give you gifts. I will make things for you. I'm like that type of person. So I was told, and I had friends that were the same, so I took care of them because they would take care of me in other ways. So I didn't let myself get taken advantage. You can get fucked with that. So I had burnt myself out. I did. I was responsible. I had little bills and stuff in high school. I had a pager, you know, but when you smoke cigarettes and you love metal music, as a metalhead who loved to try to get tickets to shows when I was underage and buy certain band merch, or eBay came out, and then there was this site called Laundromatic, and it was like all these oddball girls, and we used to trade clothes and magazines with our favorite rock bands and clippings, and oh my gosh, I made so much money and I have none. I was so fucking stupid. I was so stupid, you guys. I burnt myself out, so that's why I've become so jaded, because I was such a consumeristic little hoe, but I worked so hard for it, and I was raised with that worth ethic. Like, if you bust your ass, work. I am not okay with hustle culture these days. Belly L likes hustle culture. I asked about this. I had a reading a couple nights ago, just out of curiosity. I do that. I'm like, what's the perspective of this? He absolutely loves it, but it's the discipline of it. I think there's a difference. What I learned with that was I was working my ass off for everybody else, but not Amber. And now I work for Amber. I work for my family and for me. And it's different because I live and breathe the kitchen occultist, and I live and breathe now the Rook, because I really feel enjoy. I don't care about the money. I care about being able to sustain myself and expand in ways I want to. There's things I want to do in life, but I honestly really detached from materialism, and not in an annoying way. I love pretty things, and I collect energy. I collect rocks and quartz crystals I find on the ground, and sticks and rose thorns from my dead rose bushes, and I collect every flower and I have them categorized, and I've been pressing flowers. I love this shit. And I love supporting small businesses and stuff, and I still have to buy shit from regular stores. I'm not saying to be radical about it, and I don't care if people are the same way as me or not. I feel fulfilled. Who cares about the ego? Sorry, my edible's kicking in. I woke up at like almost 4 o'clock in the morning in extreme pain, and now it's 6:20, which means everybody's gonna get up soon, and now it's like boom, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, anyways, I feel detached, but I don't feel like I'm good for it, you know? I'm like, oh, I'm so detached that I get an erection. I really sorry. I don't sometimes I just think stupid shit, and I feel safe here to be able to say that, because I'm very quiet in my everyday life outside of people that I'm close to. So on YouTube, I get to act like myself, but when I go to the store or something, I'm just polite and quiet. I just don't care. I used to be really shy, but the Ophanim, I had an experience with the Ophanim. I made a video on Kitchen Occultist, and I don't have social anxiety anymore at all. I literally just am happy if somebody's friendly, if I'm in the mood to say hi. Because sometimes, but you keep your wards up. I do that. I keep tourmaline on me. You can have a light ward if you want to be left alone in public, and you don't want to wear headphones, because I don't recommend that. Because I used to do that a lot, which is so stupid. Not in certain parts or at night, but don't wear headphones in public. Seriously, it's really, really dangerous. But I do those things, and I tend to be left alone, and it's nice when I have to go run some errands or go out for some fresh air, get out of my cave, because I don't want to do anything else but this and be with my family right now. And the economy here in Australia is really, really horrific, so everything's extremely expensive. It's too expensive to do anything, so we just do things in nature, and we just do fun things in art, and the kids go out and they do their thing. They go shopping and have fun. But and I think you should balance that out with your kids. Like, I still shop with my kids and we buy shirts from Redbubble because I don't need to, just bleed out all of my philosophies onto them. I need to give them some wisdom and they can take what resonates and carry on the torch in their own way, in their own signature. So, because I didn't have kids to accessorize my life. I had kids to fill a void when I was very, very young, but I love them as human beings. Working with demons teaches me to take pride in myself for the efforts that I put into myself, but to do it in a graceful manner. And God teaches you, I'm going to make you suffer for no reason. I created you, I created this mess, and you're going to have to deal with it. And you're going to have to fix it, and you're going to have to thank me for it, because I'm going to give you some broken promises, and you should be grateful that I even talked to you. And most of the world is in turmoil. Like, we're not even in turmoil. Did you know that statistically, you and I, if you make $32,000 to $35,000 annually, and that's on the US dollar, and that's with the currency equivalent, we are in the top 1% of the world. That's gross. A few years back, we were like top 10%. So we have it made, right? You and I, who are struggling right now because shit's really expensive. The electric companies here are so corrupt. We have all LED lights and smart lights and low energy appliances. We have 2 air conditioning units. And our power bill, because of the company itself, not because of how much we use, and we are locked into this company, is like $500 a month. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just the area we're in. It's not, and we can't switch services. We're doing it's crazy. We turn all our lights off. It's so anyways. And for a family of 6, I spend like $2,000 a month on groceries, and we buy very little convenience. We only buy things that the kids and the little ones, some favorite snacks and safe foods. I have an autistic little one. Some safe foods, some, ramen noodles, little things like that they like. Outside of that, I make all the laundry soap. My husband does too. We cook. My husband bakes most of the bread. We'll buy some bread sometimes for sandwiches and some cereal, because it's just so hard to do everything by hand. And everything is absurd. Like, the price for shit here is insane to the max. It's like Alaska. I'm not even fucking kidding, to some degree. It's not like Alaska, but it's really bad here. And the average medium pay here is $20 an hour. So I don't know how people are supposed to be okay with that. But the point of that being is, like, for one, all of that helped me detach, because I had never been in that sort of situation. I have been really broke before. I lived in the hood for like 6 years, and I come from a gang territory area where California is so expensive and you're locked in. Like, I was paying close to $2,000 a month for rent when I was like 20 years old, and I didn't have help. Like, I had a family of my own, and there were adults involved in that family, but I didn't have anybody like, oh, can you help me pay my rent this month, or anything. Like, that was the reality for everybody I knew. I had like roommates and stuff, but it was like disgusting. And the reason why it's like this, it's because it's war energy. And people are expected to just give up and give it to God. And I see this sort of stuff. And I understand people in poverty. Like, there are Agori practitioners in India. Agori practitioners, from my novice understanding, they commune with the dead. They meditate upon decaying bodies, and they cover themselves in human ashes. And they're highly respected in the spiritual community in India. And I learned about them because of watching documentaries and getting stoned. And then I found other channels, and I went like on this big thing a few years back. but they are so detached, and some of them like grew up in touchables, right, in India, which is horrific, and it's another systematic religious, oppressive state. They are so detached from material things that they're okay. They understand what God is to them. I understand that concept. I'm not saying that that's what we should be, that we should all be like, and they just connect with that aspect of like necromancy and decay, you know what I mean? And like osteomancy, like they connect with that. There's a hollow, eerie, dark and light energy to that. They connect with that. I respect that. It's taboo, I understand, but because they're so, like, they ask permission from the body, and there's all these processes from my understanding. That's really interesting. It's dark, but we shouldn't have to be in that state in order to exist. Not everybody wants to do that, and I'm not saying that that's not a good experience for fortification. You understand what I mean. It's unrealistic. And the only reason why we're in this state is because we have somebody who really seems that they lack self-awareness. God has too much power. And that's the trickle-down effect, in my opinion. It really is. It's like Yahweh is on top. He's the false god. He's got all of these fucking people fooled because he's got people in charge running all this stuff. And I am not saying the Jews are running the world. Please stop saying that, because that's horrifically inaccurate. And it's anti-Semitic, because it's classifying a group of people into something that's terrible. It's like saying that all, Muslim people are terrorists or something. That is horrific to say. I might not agree with the Abrahamic religions, but I think it's fucked up to do that. Just like it's really horrific to say all Satanists are pedophiles and they eat babies and stuff. Like, those are really bad. Those are not good things, and we all do it to each other's groups. And I don't want kumbaya peace. I want everybody to just get their shit together and leave each other alone. That would make a good world. And we all just stay to our tribes. We know who's who. If we have to fight once in a while because we've got to evolve, go for it. Let's duke it out. That's really, we're evolving. We're primitive, stupid human beings, and we're evolving. And we have this false god that's kind of like floating around, and he's forcing it on everybody. Sorry, I just bumped the microphone. I want people to understand that this path, I don't really care if people understand that. I'm just trying to articulate myself. The fortitude that I've received from working with infernals is like no other. It's not abusive. It's fair. It's creatively crafted for your mentality to what you can handle. They know what you can handle. If you're arrogant, maybe they'll give you more than you can handle to teach you a lesson. I'm not sure. I'm always too paranoid. I'm like, fuck, am I going to be too... I feel comfortable in my path, but I get in my own head sometimes. And then they knock and they go, hey, what's that about? Let's talk about it. Belial does not let me off the hook for shit. He doesn't. And Lucifer's always close by. Those two, it's weird. It's this weird duo energy. It's not like they're connecting. It's like they're connecting just because they're both in alignment at the same time of something that I need, and it's like they're both kind of showing up, but not like simultaneously. I don't know how to expect it. It's a different aspect. When Lucifer and Belial's energies are in the same room as mine, there's this complete different aspect between them. And it's not like this role-playing thing that people on TikTok seem to say. People, they're very comedic, and I understand that. Trust me, it's crazy. But that energy when I need to confront something is very interesting. So I don't even know what to call it when Lucifer and Belial both pop up. And it's always for the specific feeling that I'm having. And it's not because they're like, oh no, Amber needs rescuing. It's like because I need to confront it and I don't want to. It's very rarely, if anything, when I'm completely falling apart because I'm giving 4,000% and whatever I'm doing wrong, just tell me, that they'll coddle and breastfeed you a bit. You know what I mean? Like, they are kind. And that's because that's what I need, in those doses. personally am very content with most of my, I'm actually in a content place for most of my life. I feel pretty good, and I just want to keep cool. I don't want to get too happy, and I don't want to, crash down. I think that you got to keep cool when things are going well, and moving forward for yourself, and just like exercise and meditate, and I stretch a lot. I'm really like have improved my flexibility, which is hard because I get really stiff with pressure change, and it's frustrating because I can stretch and make progress all week, and then I have one bad flare up and it's like, and I feel like I have rigor mortis, so I have to start over again, but it gets better over time. So it does improve over time, and that's like my outlet. So I don't try to get into my own head, and I don't try to run away from those aspects of myself, because I think that I'm brave, because I think that I'm accountable. But then you get into the core of your spirit and you go, ooh, that's ugly right there. I don't want to do that. And you do it, and they tell you, look at you not wanting to do it. I feel like the reason why I'm so connected with Belial is it's not any fun story. It's literally because my idiosyncrasies with my character are just aligned with his as well, and I vibe the fuck out of that, and I make him laugh because I like to make people, that's all I am. So it's this weird thing. So he'll call you out when you can handle a joke. He'll fuck with you, and he clowns around a lot. And I've heard other people say that too, but he, out of everybody, clowns around a lot. I really should just do another episode on like their senses of humor that I've experienced. Because Lucifer's very classical and composed, and he's also very modern, but he still is very reserved because he's got his graces about him. And Belial is like, he gives no fucks. He has no shame at all. And it's so empowering because he doesn't even care about it. Like, he doesn't even care. And it's like, wow, he doesn't give a fuck. He understands the responsibilities of being a king, but it does nothing for him. And it doing nothing for him is even worse. And it's like, holy shit, he's so fucking like deep and philosophical and dark in his own shit, but also so enlightened that it's brilliant. And it's an orchestra. It's a symphony. And then with Azazel, he's very reserved and calm, and with me he's very quiet and he's very powerful, and his voice is very deep, but he's kind of like, he'll, I don't know, maybe smirk a little bit if there's an energy around that would associate with something he might find humorous. I don't try to make him laugh because I feel really intimidated by Azazel, but he doesn't try to make me feel intimidated. He's just really powerful, and he's not like Belial where he doesn't care. He just understands himself so well. It's like that purity in him. And he gave me my dark flame. I don't know, I had this meditation where he put like a pitch black ball of fire and just like pumped it into my chest, and I felt it. And that was a long time ago. That was a few years back, because I'm pretty new at all this. I've been a witch for decades, but I haven't been an occultist deep diving into this for decades. So I'm very transparent about that. But there's such this silent power and silent humor that he has. So, and I feel like with Leviathan, there's nothing like that. But if there was, he would just tolerate everybody's stupidity. He's got a very grandfatherly like energy for me. So it's really interesting. But anyways, I think I'm going to wrap it up for now because everybody's going to start waking up soon, and I got to get the day going, and I'm going to do some witchcraft today because I've been wanting to all week, and the weekends are my time to be able to fit that in. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon, guys.